Hello, hello. We're going to get the stream started, the live stream started in a second here. Let me see if I can expand this a little bit, though. Oh, damn. I want to see chats just in case they happen. I guess that's good enough. Okay. A little bit chilly in San Diego. Some rare cold weather here. Whoops. Oh, God. Shaking my whole camera setup. Anyways, we'll probably get it started kind of quick here. Streaming on Facebook Live on the Missed Info page, too. So it should be pretty cool. Anyways, let's get started. Live from a studio apartment, this is Missed Information. That it still needs to be resized. That freaking graphic. I just changed the resolution, so there's some bugs to work out. But in any case, Republicans have banned Dan Crenshaw from international travel after an alcohol-related incident. Yeah. Apparently he didn't know how drunk he was. Yeah, he was still seeing in single vision. Stop looking at me like that, Dan Crenshaw. It's just a joke. As Elon Musk said that robots will save humanity and lead to a better, wealthier future. Yeah, which is exactly what the Native Americans thought when they invited the whites to the first Thanksgiving. Did not turn out well. Yeah. Turns out inviting a superior technology to join you and then planning to enslave it, not the correct order of operations. Just my opinion. So Trump was, how do I phrase this? There we go. Trump was misquoted the other day as telling a reporter, "Quiet, Piggy," when he was actually, I guess the reporter's name was Peggy. So he's just saying, "Quiet, Peggy." Yeah. So it turns out he was serious about this.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
Only Rosie gets the Piggy comments. Only Rosie, it's true. All right. News stuff today. Today was such a friggin' slow news day, guys. This whole week has been like super slow news. You know how hard it is to write? It's hard enough to write 3 jokes per day. You know how hard it is when the news is boring? You really got to pull some rabbits out of a hat. But anyways, let me see. Oh, that doesn't look good at all. One sec. Let me see if I can resize this. I don't know if this will... Huh. Oh, I got it. Okay, cool. Resolution. Okay. We're almost good. This is a bit different. Okay. Oh, it's on something different. That's why. Let me see. Hold on one sec. Properties. Let's do X home. Okay. Okay, I think that's much better. Perfect. It was on some phantom screen. All right, well, in any case, so news stories today. I mean, probably the biggest thing there was, this was kind of a story that came in a little bit later in the day. Apparently there was a Democrat, Representative Sheila. This name is going to be tough to pronounce. I've never heard of her before. Representative Sheila Cherfulus McCormick. I guess so. She's a Democrat in Florida. She's been accused of stealing $5 million in misappropriated FEMA funds that were meant for disaster relief. Faces potentially 53 years in federal prison if these charges go through. So basically, I guess what happened, from what I understand from the story, I think this was back during COVID almost, like in 2020, 2021. And I think this story had said her and her brother or someone in her family had like a kind of a disaster relief agency of some sort, almost like a food kitchen or something like that. And I guess they were working with the federal government with FEMA funds, and they received an overpayment of $5 million in FEMA funds. And instead of returning it, I guess they kept it, and they started like shuffling it and funneling it to different family members so that their family members could then pay back their campaign in what looked like just regular campaign contributions, but really it was this $5 million of misappropriated FEMA funds just being funneled back into her campaign, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, it's just kind of funny because, you know, for the last 4 years, Democrats have been lawfaring or attempting to lawfare the crap out of President Trump for supposedly being this criminal, this bad guy. And it's just another example of actually, you know, all along, look who it is who's corrupt. It's the Democrats, right? There have been a couple of these stories in the news, mostly with mortgage fraud. I think there's 4 different Democrats right now who've been charged with mortgage fraud or are facing charges. Now this. I think that's most of the story. Oh, they also worked with a tax attorney. I guess there was a tax attorney who was in on it and was helping them conceal the funds. So that's pretty crazy. 53 years is a lot of prison time, if that's actually true. I told you it's a slow news day. That was the top story, pretty much. I thought this was we'll go into the, so last night I mentioned Trump was calling, there was a funny video of Trump saying quiet piggy to one of the reporters as he was boarding Air Force One, which actually when I saw it, I thought that was kind of funky because I was like, it's sort of funny, but it's not really quite like him to throw that out randomly at somebody. Turns out the reporter's name is Peggy. So this was Trump the other night.
Quiet, Peggy.
This is like that blue dress, gold dress meme, right? Do you hear quiet piggy or do you hear quiet Peggy? Right? So much less funny, but you know, I did think it was a little bit weird that he was calling somebody piggy just randomly out of the blue. So this does make a lot more sense. And makes sense for that story. There was a woman who was set. It seems like every day there's just another story about a career criminal, meaning somebody who's been arrested 10, 12, 20 times and released each time without bail back into the city, and who ends up murdering somebody or raping somebody or doing something terrible, right? Today, we should just have what's today's story. So today it's this guy, Lawrence Reed, I think this was in Chicago, lit a woman on fire on the subway. And what's really horrible about the story, I don't think they have the picture here, but you can see it in other pictures, there are other passengers there on the subway car who do not seem to step in and intervene at all, which, I mean, that makes a little bit more sense to me if somebody's got a knife. Maybe they're scared, they don't want to get harmed. If someone's taking the time to dump gasoline on somebody, which I don't even know was he carrying a count? Are these people just carrying around cans of gasoline, just waiting for opportunities? Like, that's crazy. Poured gasoline on some lady that I guess he'd been arguing with, lit her on fire. I think she's in the hospital in critical condition. And nobody intervened or did anything. Nobody pushed him off. Nobody grabbed his hand. Nobody stopped him. Nothing. They just let him light her on fire. So, yeah. He was shouting "burn alive" as he doused her. just like I said, every day there's another one of these stories. It kind of hits a little close to home because I see these types of people in San Diego all the time. You know, San Diego seems like it's a nice place, and it is a nice place to live. But it's sort of like San Francisco light, if you can imagine. If you can imagine downtown San Diego as being like a quarter of the homeless problem that San Francisco has, it's about that. And I see people that are crazy, just homeless, crazy people walking down the street every single day, and they're swinging at the air. Swinging at the air every time. I heard someone online say, it was a funny comment once about the homeless problem, that every time they leave their house they feel like they're in an RPG, a role-playing game, and they're about to have an encounter, right, with like a monster, and they want to see how much experience points they can get, right? That's how it feels when you're walking around in any kind of left-leaning downtown of a city anymore. It's just like random people walking, swinging at the air. You don't know if you're going to fight them, what's going to happen. I've heard of, there's been women in San Diego that have been punched by people like that. And it comes down to two things. I think what happened is, well, more recently, there's the cashless bail thing, right? And Soros trying to basically not prosecute criminals, right? Let them off the hook because that's somehow bad. That's somehow worse than lighting people on fire, right? The first problem that I think started it was this push to close the asylums a long time ago. This is my understanding is, you know, number one, they're expensive to maintain those medical facilities. But number two, there was this thinking that when they invented antidepressants and various different antipsychotics and psychiatric drugs, the idea was instead of putting people behind closed doors where they're in an asylum, people are watching, I'm going to take care of them, you can just give them these drugs and you can put them back on the street so that they have more freedom. They're not like being held against their will in these places. And theoretically, those drugs in an outpatient setting can help treat their problems. Well, we've seen how that's turned out. And how it's turned out is everyone who's living in civil society is being forced to share the asylum with everyone else. We're basically living in an open air asylum now. So to me, aside from putting people behind bars and keeping them there when they do get violent, I think you gotta have facilities to treat people who are homeless, have mental health issues, and very obviously are just a danger to society, can't take care of themselves. Outpatient drugs isn't working. I don't think drugs are going to help their problem any. This was an interesting interview I saw on Twitter today. It's actually Nikki Haley's son, and he was speaking with Tucker Carlson. I'll play the audio in a second. I hate that when it spins. The interesting thing about it, the first thing that's funny, is he looks a lot like Tucker Carlson. Just the hair and everything, and his way of speaking and his mannerisms, you'll kind of notice if you watch for the similarities. It makes me wonder if he is a big Tucker fan. Because you know how people sometimes pick up like the mannerisms or the speaking patterns of people that they're close to or that they like. I sort of noticed that in him. But he has some really interesting points. I guess he's very America first. And the way he outlines it here is very simple and very persuasive to me. So we will take a quick listen.
And there's so many different aspects to immigration that it's not
It'll load. Give it a sec.
the migration part of it, but a lot of other things that are just out of control.
Like what?
So naturalized citizens should not be able to hold public office. Growing up here is a big part of understanding the country.
I believe he's saying here that no citizens who moved here and then became citizens should be able to hold public office. I don't know about that. I like some of his later thinking. I mean, it just makes me think of people like Elon Musk or something, right? Like, why would you not want somebody like that to hold public office? But he does raise a good point about, he has a good way of speaking, and this point he raises about it's important to have grown up here to understand the country is very true. So we'll continue.
We need to stop and limit the amount of foreign students that are coming into our universities. Some of them are spies, by the way. for foreign governments.
Fang, fang.
But it's also just we should put our kids first.
Yes.
And we should also not allow dual citizenship because that's the stupidest idea. You're either American or you're not. And everyone wants to make it so complicated. That's the thing that I don't like about the past generation is they're always about the rules, the process, and regulation. No, it's really simple. You're just America first. People should have their loyalty to America first. And if they can't do that, then this ain't the country for you.
That's totally right.
It's a very plain way of stating things, right? But it's just very powerful with the simplicity.
About serving in a foreign military?
Oh gosh, no, forget about it. You can't
But doesn't that sound like Tucker when he speaks?
do that.
Of course not, right?
It's ridiculous. That idea alone is just insane.
Yeah.
Dual citizenship's already bad enough, but to serve in another country's military is disqualifying, really.
Of course. I mean, it's hard to believe
Yeah.
it's even a conversation. What
Right.
about language? Do you worry that, countries are united by their language, and language is inseparable from culture? Language is culture in a lot of ways, but this doesn't seem like an English-speaking country anymore.
Yeah, especially when you go to places like Minneapolis, Miami, New York.
San Diego. This is one of the things that bothers me a lot because I only speak English. Like literally, I'm very good at it. I'm very practiced in English, but I don't know a lick of Spanish. And there are a lot of people who only speak Spanish. And what's annoying is it's almost like they require you to step outside of your comfort zone and speak their language or translate to them or for them. I say this because I work in a customer service setting a lot of the time. I manage apartments during the day. And I mean, a lot of the people who speak Spanish do not come prepared with like even, there's simple apps on your phone that you use to translate. They don't come prepared at all with that. They want a Spanish speaker in the office, right? They want a Spanish speaking representative. And it's like, in what world do you come to some other country and then demand that somebody speak your language? But it happens quite frequently. It's very annoying to me. So I totally agree with him here. Fine if you speak Spanish or a different language, but you gotta learn English, or you gotta use a translator, or you gotta assume that's gonna be the national language. And it just makes more sense if it's like it's like having a computer program running with different codes, with Python and whatever, some other programming language running on it, right? No, you have to have all the same codes. It just makes things easy.
Which I lived there for a little bit. And yeah, I want to be able to understand everybody. I just do. It's my country. I don't think I should have to speak another language in my own country. I don't think anyone wants that. I don't think it's good for us. Not saying that you can't know another language. I think that's great
You should
to know another language.
It's good.
But to have anything other than English as the primary language in this country, not acceptable.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I like his way of sort of boiling things down and saying, the problem with some previous administrations and ways of thinking is they try to make everything really complicated. And he's just saying things really simple here, right? One language, one country. Simple, right? Common sense. And I think that resonates with people a lot. Sam Harris, watching Sam Harris's downfall has been unfortunate. I used to like Sam Harris a lot. He was one of the smart guys that I listened to for a long time. And just ever since Trump got elected, he has devolved more and more into some type of seeming mental illness. But in this interview, what's interesting...
I mean, it was terrible.
I feel like I don't even need to play the audio. Just looking at his face, you can tell that there is something wrong. He looks evil. He looks somehow corrupted, which is weird. But just observe the way that his eyebrow behaves. And somebody points it out, Walter Kim on Twitter. His evil eyebrow is acting
It was terrible on every
independently of
level.
his
It was terrible.
body. It reminds me of one of those old horror movies.
As a
with a
murder of
hand
a young father. It's terrible that his family was there. I mean, it's just awful. It's additionally terrible because a political assassination is genuinely dangerous because we are so combustible as a society. And the fact that we're this combustible, a lot of the onus goes to, I mean, it goes to both sides, but I would put most of the onus, as will not surprise you, on the president and his cult, right? I mean, and
and so the eyebrow is weird. His face looks contorted. It looks really disturbed, right? But calling President Trump's supporters a cult, I mean, it's never seemed like a cult to me as much as, there's people that really like him. There's nothing wrong with, really liking your president. Really, maybe it's because Democrats really just haven't had a candidate that people really genuinely loved or liked, right? Having appreciation for someone or loving somebody, and Trump is, by the way, very lovable. I mean, he's like almost a stand-up comedian the way he talks a lot of the time, right? How can you not love the guy when he's cracking jokes up there and posting memes on Twitter, These guys are so distorted in their thinking, At some point he decided this was a cult, and for him, he's going to say, after just mentioning the Charlie Kirk assassination, that much of the problem that created that is because of Trump. Like, what are you even talking about? Your side murdered a political opponent. You're saying it's the other side's fault for having a fan base? What? But the remarkable thing is he actually believes these things. And Sam Harris, again, is a smart guy. Like, I used to listen to his podcast. Him and Scott Adams were kind of right on the same tier for me. And, Scott Adams, of course, I think has a better view of the world and can kind of break down what's actually going on with Trump, whereas Sam Harris devolved into this sort of Trump derangement syndrome thing and has never really recovered.
I would say that the response to the assassination was highly asymmetrical in ways that don't make Trump and Trumpism look good. I mean, I thought...
What? I mean, we all saw Democrats cheer on the murder, right? Why is he again focusing on how bad Trump supporters looked following the assassination?
For instance, all the people right of center were watching those awful videos of Gen Z maniacs celebrate Kirk's murder. And obviously all those people are dangerous morons on some level. And many of them, just
He's a smart
obviously
guy.
mentally ill too. I mean, these are not, it was not the cream of the crop of the woke.
I don't know about that, though. A lot of those people did not seem like... It's funny that he's mentioning mentally ill, and he's probably one of them. A lot of them just seem like moms and soccer moms. They did not seem to me like mentally ill crazies. I think it's pretty common for Democrats to actually hold a bloodlust for Republicans, and specifically Trump. I've seen it at work with various women I've worked with in the past. I mean, girls I've dated in the past or just been talking to have it's weird when you're talking to somebody and you don't share the same politics and you get them talking and you can see a girl's eyes light up with this rage when they talk about Trump. I've seen some shit in my day, okay? But anyways, that's enough about Sam Harris. I don't know if we got anything else tonight. It was a pretty slow day, like I said. There was, there's one more funny thing. Jasmine Crockett, I guess, in a hearing or in Congress, she was trying to hit back at Republicans saying that Democrats had taken Jeffrey Epstein's money. So I guess she had her staffers look into Republicans, and they found payments from Jeffrey Epstein to Republicans. So she took to the floor and started accusing Republicans of taking money from Jeffrey Epstein. It turns out it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. Not the same Jeffrey Epstein, which is it's like a doctor somewhere, right, who donated to Republicans, which is in itself a bummer for that doctor, right? Imagine being Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, having to live with that. But she accuses Republicans of taking money from them. The Republicans respond and go, "You're an idiot. This is a different person." And rather than apologizing or backing down, she doubles down and basically says she was right.
She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Ruh-roh.
who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically
all part of her master plan, you see, to educate Republicans that it could have been Jeffrey Epstein, but she didn't know if it was or not. Her response is weird because she's simultaneously saying, no, actually, I was right. I knew, I kept it ambiguous because I didn't know. But then also saying that, like, somehow, when she had her staffers look, like, it doesn't have pictures, so she shouldn't have known somehow. It's really strange. I don't know. There's a really dumb way that some Democrats sort of double down on the attitude when they're called out on things. Just admit it's a flub. It's not that big a deal.
Why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein. So
you can't, it makes no sense. So that was just kind of funny. I think we'll wrap it up here. Super slow news day. Hopefully Trump says some funny stuff tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow around 9 p.m.